Thank you so much for joining me today on our new segment called Perspectives on Partnership. And as you may know, we're really busy in Canada expanding the ASB model into Canada through Canadian Solutions for Business. And I think it'd be really beneficial for anybody watching this to hear your perspectives on what makes the model work. And I think the best way to do that is starting at the beginning. So
Okay.
what led you to partnering with ASB?
Well, first of all, Josh, thank you very much for asking me to participate. What led me to ASB? I had been aware of American Solutions for Business. I've been in the industry for a few decades. I knew of the company, but not much about the company. And I was with a company that was a VC backed, private equity owned company, uh, very focused on the numbers and only the numbers to the detriment of the sales organization. And I'd finally kind of reached the limit of what I could take and decided it was time to look to see what else was out there. And I looked at a couple of other organizations and had the opportunity to meet with the team from American Solutions for Business, and was really struck by just kind of the foundational difference between ASB and everybody else. I think there are a couple of things that are core to that. One is uh, the fact that it's an employee-owned company. And there's just such a difference into calling into someone in the home office, and the person who's answering the phone also has an ownership stake in the company.
Sure.
And it just makes a difference. I mean, we're all pulling the oars in the same direction. They recognize that if they can help me as a sales rep be successful, then it helps them be successful. And that's very different than anything else I've seen in the industry. The other thing I would say that's just a huge difference is just the kind of the Zavagil culture.
Hmm.
It is a very different organization culturally than anything I've worked in. Well, I'd probably been with the company for about 6 months, and my experience in changing jobs is that, you expect that a certain percentage of the things that they say you're going to you get, and the other you kind of chalk up to being fluff.
Sure.
And I was talking to my wife, and I said, I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I don't think there's a shoe.
Hmm.
It's every commitment that was made to me by ASB was kept and then some. So it's just foundationally a completely different company than any other I've worked for.
And do you think that's because Larry himself was a salesman and has geared everything towards the salesperson and their success? That's one thing that I noticed when I first started engaging with ASB and coming on board with CSB was that everything was to the benefit of the salesperson, and I think that's a byproduct of the whole organization being built by a salesperson themselves. So it's super important. And I know you touched on it a little bit already, but is there anything else that sets the model apart from any other organizations that you considered engaging with? Splits, support, anything along those lines?
I think first of all, the splits are, I've not seen a company out there with better split for sales rep perspective.
Mhm.
But I think also the fact that the company treats us like grown-ups. The company says, okay, here's your split, here's our split, here's what you get for your split, and here are
Mhm.
the things that you're responsible for.
So there's
And
autonomy.
there is autonomy, but the ground rules are set, and everybody plays by the ground rules, and it works. And I can make decisions on if I want to invest in additional customer support. It's available to me. You know, here's what the cost associated with that is, and I
Right.
can make a business decision as to whether I think that's the right thing to do. And there's so many other tools that are available to us where it's the same model. If we build a client on ACES site, here's the benefit. Certainly, I mean,
Right.
part of the benefit is it gives us a competitive advantage. And here is the commitment that I make to the company as a part of that. But everything's spelled out up front, and it hasn't changed significantly in the 13 years I've been with the company.
So those expanded support services, it's so beneficial that you can build them out fractionally, where if you were at a plateau with your business and you're thinking, okay, well, I want to double my business, but I'm already working 12 hours a week. What does that mean in terms of back office and support? Do I have to hire somebody full time where I might not be able to keep them busy for that entire time? Having the ability to just fractionalize that and bill out only for what you're needed, I think there's a monetary benefit to that as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. As my business has grown, I initially I started off, I did everything myself. Then I reached a point where I needed some help, and I basically had a third of a customer service rep, and then it became a half a customer service rep, and now it's building up to a full customer service rep. But the costs associated with that have increased with the business rather than having to, as you said, make the commitment to a full-time support person when I really don't need a full-time support person.
Right. If you're busy enough to need it, then you can afford it.
Absolutely.
It makes
Absolutely.
sense, right? How would you say your business has benefited most? Would it be e-com, program management, support, regained bandwidth and time?
Um, I mean, all of those are very valid tools, and it probably varies from rep to rep.
Hmm.
Where I seem to find the best fit in the market is organizations that are uh, kind of geographically dispersed or larger organizations that can really benefit from an e-commerce store to support their marketing needs.
Right.
In a lot of cases, what I lead with. Other reps prefer not to do that and prefer to take more of a transactional approach. Absolutely fine. There are resources to support that as well. And it really kind of lets the rep follow their what fits them best, their approach, the way they want to do business, and rather than say, here's the way you have to do it.
Everybody runs their business differently and everybody has a different
Absolutely.
set of clients with different needs. So having that range to support the clients and to support the business, even despite their significant differences from one associate to the next, is really key for their success, I think. And lastly, what would your advice be to entrepreneurs to make the most of the model?
Um, well, I think one of the things is to just try to offload the tasks that stand in the way of you selling.
Mm,
Because, I know for me, even now, the biggest challenge that I have to getting out and selling is all the stuff that comes along with having customers and selling, you know,
right.
selling product and managing orders and answering emails and things like that. I don't know that I'll ever be able to completely offload that, but the more I can offload of that, the more time I have to sell, which is really what I do best. The other thing is to, even though there may be resources available to me that I don't choose to use at any given moment, be aware of what they are, because there's going to come time when I'm sitting with a customer that says, "Oh, by the way, can you do this?" And I'll remember maybe it was an email or maybe it was a presentation I sat through on something I never really thought I'd use, and I say, "Oh, wait, yeah, we can do that," and I
Right.
know where to go. So that's an important thing as well, I think.
So it gives you the ability to say yes, regardless of clients' needs.
Yeah, like most salespeople, we'll always say yes. Of course, I can do that, but to know there's actually a
There's
way
a
I
real
can do
yes
that.
behind it.
Yes, there is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Perspectives on Partnership, and happy to see all the success you're having. And again, I appreciate the time and happy holidays.
Josh, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity and happy holidays to you as well.
Thanks so much, Chip.